4 different stair lift brands, 4 different salesmen sitting in 4 different living rooms, 4 separate quotes on 4 separate letterheads, and one parent company in Laval, Quebec that owns every name on the paperwork: Handicare, Minivator, Sterling, Freelift, Companion. 5 badges, 1 owner, and in several documented cases, 1 machine with a different label riveted to the seat. If you have shopped for a stair lift in the last few years, you have almost certainly been quoted by at least 2 of those without ever once being told they came off the same production line. You believed you were comparing manufacturers. You were comparing nameplates, and the gap between the cheapest quote in that stack and the most expensive one, which in this market runs to $5,000 and beyond, has almost nothing to do with the chair you actually sit in. The company is called Savaria. It is based in Laval, Quebec. It trades publicly on the Toronto Exchange. And unless you work in accessibility equipment, you have never heard the name in your life. Over the past decade, it has been quietly buying the stairlift industry one manufacturer at a time. In 2018, it acquired Garaventa Lift of Switzerland for 74 million Swiss francs. In 2021, it went after the big one. On the 4th of March, 2021, Savaria completed its takeover of Handicare Group, the Swedish listed manufacturer, in a deal valuing the equity at roughly 452 million Canadian dollars and the whole enterprise at 521 million. Shareholders holding 95.2% of Handicare tendered their shares. 940 employees changed hands in a single morning, and here is the number that should stop you cold. Handicare produces more than 45,000 stairlifts every year. Marcel Bourassa, the man who bought Savaria back in 1989 and built it into what it is now, put it plainly in the completion announcement. He welcomed the 940 new employees and said the combined company would demonstrate that 1 + 1 is greater than 2. He was talking to investors. But read that sentence again as a homeowner sitting at a kitchen table with 3 quotes in front of you. 1 + 1 being greater than 2 is precisely what happens when you can sell the same machine under 2 different names to 2 different buyers who each believe they are shopping around. Because the careful buyer who collects 3 quotes from 3 brands and picks the sensible one in the middle thinks they have done their homework. In this industry, quite often, they have not. They have simply chosen which badge to pay for. The rebadging did not start with Savaria. Savaria bought a company that had already spent a decade perfecting it. Minivator was a genuine British manufacturer in the West Midlands with its own engineering history and its own reputation among installers. Freelift was Dutch. Companion was its own name on its own machines. All of them were absorbed into Handicare, and on the 1st of July 2010, Minivator and Freelift were formally merged into a single legal entity called Handicare Accessibility Limited. By 2014, the Minivator name had been stripped off the lifts entirely. The Freelift models were not retired either, they were renamed. The lift fitted to the outside bend of a staircase became the Van Gogh. The inside bend model became the Rembrandt. The model built for multiple flights became the Vermeer. Same machines, new paint on the nameplate. Dutch old masters where the engineering brand used to be. Sterling is the clearest case of the lot because you do not have to take a manufacturer's word for any of it. You can take a repair technician's. StairliftRepair.com is an independent service outfit with no stake whatsoever in anyone's marketing. It tells customers directly that the Sterling lift may also be labeled as Minivator and that they are the same lift. Not comparable, not similar, the same. The aftermarket parts suppliers confirm it in the most unarguable way available. They do not maintain separate parts catalogs for Minivator, Handicare, and Sterling. They maintain one. Same drive assemblies, same seat components, same charge points, same fault codes, same service manuals. If a technician can strip one of them blindfolded, he can strip all 3, because there is nothing different to learn. And this is where the badges get genuinely useful to the seller, because the machines behind them do not all come from one shed. Handicare stair lifts are built in Kingswinford in the West Midlands and in Heerhugowaard in the Netherlands, with components sourced from Xiamen in China. 2 assembly plants, a global supply chain, and 5 separate brand names sitting on top of it, each one sold to you as though it were an independent company with its own engineering philosophy. And Savaria is not really hiding this anymore. Through 2026, the Handicare name is itself being gradually retired and folded into the Savaria brand across Europe, beginning with a legal entity name change. A company spokesperson reassured customers that they will continue to receive Handicare, Stair lifts, supported by the same trusted teams. Which is true. It was always true. That was never the point. Because there is a second consolidator running the same playbook, and its lifts are the ones you have seen advertised on daytime television. Acorn Stair Lifts, based in Steeton in West Yorkshire, is a real manufacturer with a real factory and real engineers. It is also an acquirer. It bought Brooks Stair Lifts in 2001. In 2008, it bought Bison Bud, specifically to bring curved rail manufacturing in-house instead of buying rails from competitors. Ask any dealer who installs both, and you will get the same answer. The straight Brooks lift is the Acorn. The flagship straight model is sold as the Acorn 130 and as the Brooks 130. The meaningful difference between them is the color. Acorn goes out in beige and white. Brooks goes out in all beige with a white rail. So that is the honest map of this industry. Not a dozen competing engineering companies fighting over your business, a small handful of factories, and a very large number of names. If this is the kind of thing nobody tells you before the salesman is measuring your staircase, subscribe. Because pulling apart who really makes what is the whole job here. Now here is where the money actually goes, and this is the part the industry does not want broken out line by line. A straight stair lift, professionally installed, runs somewhere between $3,200 and $5,500 across most of the United States. Break that down by component, and the mystery evaporates fast. The rail costs $650 to $900. The motor and drivetrain, the most heavily engineered part of the entire machine, costs $780 to $1,100. The seat assembly runs $420 to $650. The controls and electronics $300 to $450. The batteries $60 to $120. Installation labor $600 to $1,000. Now put one 90-degree turn in your staircase. That same carriage, the same motor, the same seat, the same electronics is suddenly sitting on a quote between $9,000 and $15,000. Complex staircases with multiple turns run past $20,000. The premium is not in the chair you sit in. Roughly 60% of a curved lift's total cost is the rail alone, because it has to be measured, bent, and fabricated for one staircase in one house, and it can never be reused in another home as long as it exists. That is your $5,000 markup, and this is the honest version of it. It is not a badge tax invented in a marketing meeting. It is a genuine manufacturing reality, but the reason it is almost never explained to you is that a buyer who understands it immediately starts asking the right question, which is what the rail costs and what the chair costs, separately in writing before anything gets signed. There is a second markup, and this one has no manufacturing excuse behind it at all. Watch the financing. An offer of $79 a month over 60 months sounds gentle enough to say yes to. Multiply it out, and it is $5,340 on a lift that was priced at $3,500. That is $1,840 in pure interest and fees charged to someone on a fixed income. Dealer financing in this market commonly runs between 12 and 18%, and only a genuine 0% promotional offer is worth signing. And if you want the plainest possible evidence of what these machines really cost to build, look at the refurbished market. A reconditioned straight lift from a reputable dealer sells for roughly $2,500 to $3,200, fully installed and warrantied. That is the same machine, pulled out of a house where it was no longer needed, and it saves a buyer between $1,000 and $2,000. Curved rails almost never come back, because a rail bent for one staircase fits precisely one staircase on Earth. Medicare pays none of it. That single fact is the foundation the entire pricing structure is built on. Stair lifts are classified as a home modification rather than durable medical equipment under Medicare Part B, which means they are not covered, not partially, not with a doctor's letter, not on appeal. The Department of Veterans Affairs does offer a grant that can help, capped at $6,800 for life, but read the exclusions carefully because that program specifically excludes removable stair glides as non-permanent equipment. State Medicaid waivers can cover them in some places, with income limits, spending caps, and waiting lists measured in years. so the overwhelming majority of American buyers pay cash. Out of savings, usually under real-time pressure, because someone has just come home from the hospital and cannot manage the stairs tonight. That is not a functioning market. That is a captive audience, and it produces exactly the sales behavior you would expect. In 2018, the British Consumer Group, which sent undercover shoppers into Acorn sales appointments. They recorded salespeople pushing for an immediate decision on the spot, phoning a mate in the office to unlock a 20% discount and asking for a refundable £500 deposit before leaving the house. A survey that July found more than 1 in 3 people who had bought a stair lift from Acorn felt pressured into the purchase, and the group stated the company may be breaking laws against pressure selling. Acorn disputed several of the specifics, denied that deposits were demanded or immediate decisions required, and said it would not condone or tolerate individuals falling below its expected standards of conduct. It is worth saying clearly that not every company in this business operates this way, because 2 of them are the counterexample. Bruno Independent Living Aids of Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, was founded in 1984. It is veteran-founded, still family-owned into a 3rd generation, employs more than 400 people, and builds its stair lifts in the United States. It is nobody's badge. It is the buyer rather than the bought. And in November of 2025, it acquired the British lift maker Terry Lifts, with Mike Bruno calling the purchase a milestone in the company's growth strategy. Stana, in Andover, England, is the other. Family-owned since 1867, now in its 5th generation, and in October of 2024, it produced its 1 millionth stair lift and opened a brand new factory to keep building them in the same town it started in. Independence still exists in this industry. It is simply outnumbered, and there is one final detail that should change how you shop, because it has nothing to do with the price on the day. ThyssenKrupp Access sold stair lifts across North America for years under names like Levant, Cydia, and Stairglide. In 2012, the company shut its North American operations entirely and walked away. Every one of those lifts is still bolted to somebody's staircase right now, and parts for them have to be scavenged from aftermarket suppliers who bought up the last of the inventory. A stair lift is not really a purchase. It is a 15-year relationship with whoever is still answering the phone. So the question to ask in that living room is not which brand is best. There are 4 better ones. Who actually manufactures this machine? Who owns that manufacturer today? What am I paying for the rail? And what am I paying for the chair separately? And what is this financing costing me in total dollars, not per month? Ask those 4 and the badge on the seat stops mattering entirely, which is precisely the outcome the badge exists to prevent. Nobody is going to volunteer any of it while they are measuring your staircase. If you would rather know this before the salesman arrives than 18 months after he leaves, subscribe, because that is what every video on this channel is for.